let's go ahead and get started. Today's speaker is Zach Lawrence. Zach is an associate professor in the Information and Engineering Technology Department at NOVA. He has 10 years of full-time teaching experience and has taught Windows Client Server, Linux, information security, Cisco, and ethical hacking. Zach holds an MS in Cyber and Information Security from Capital Technology University and a BA in Economics from the University of Kansas. He also holds many industry certifications, including A+, Network+, Security+, Linux+, Cloud+, CCNA, CH, SSCP, MCP, and AWS Cloud Practitioner. Zach has worked in several industries such as financial markets, education, local government, defense contracting, and telecom. Outside of work, Zach enjoys international travel with his wife, Michko, investing in antiques. So Zach, I will stop my share and turn it over to you. Feel free to take it away.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
we
morning,
see some
Professor.
good mornings in the chat.
Okay, so we're going to cover performance-based testing. I'd actually like to see in the chat who attended KK's session on Monday. Did he want to attend that?
You can also use the thumbs up reaction function on your Zoom if you don't want to type in the chat as well.
So I see a couple of yeps and yeses, and I did. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to rehash a little bit of what a frown face. Okay. Does that mean you attended or you couldn't attend? So I'm going to rehash a little bit of what he discussed on Monday because it's crucial that basically, one of the things that's a benefit here is you're getting two different points of view, and both of us are very well accomplished in the field of cybersecurity. Let's see. So as Brittany said, I'm Zach Lawrence. I have about 10 years full-time teaching experience. I only listed my security-related certs. I got cyber ops 2 weeks ago. I sent a text to a mentor and said that exam was fun. And he said, I never remember saying that a Cisco exam was fun. So that was kind of interesting. So not rehashing in anything that Brittany's already said, but the first certification I took was in 1998, I believe, and it was Understanding Networking Essentials by Microsoft. It was part of the MCSE, Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, which I do hold that, but it's old and obsolete. I failed the first time. My dad also was an MCSE. He said, okay, pick yourself up, figure out what you don't know, and go take it again. So a week later, I passed it, and I was off to the races, and I've been taking industry certs ever since then. So specifically about Security Plus. So I'm certified on a bunch of different versions of Security Plus. So I'm actually certified on the first version, which was JK0-010, and I took it in 2005. I'm also certified on nomenclature that you probably recognize. I'm certified on the 301, 401, 501, and 601. So one of the ways to keep yourself current is to actually go sit for the current exam. To be very specific, so notice I'm certified on Security Plus and Security Plus CE. CE stands for continuing education. What does that actually mean? And what does it mean to be Security Plus certified or A Plus certified or Network Plus certified? Prior to December 31st, 2011, your CompTIA certs were valid for life. And in 2011, CompTIA sought accreditation, I believe from the ISO, either ANSI or ISO. So not only are you seeking certification through CompTIA, your vendor, CompTIA, is also certified through a third party. Why? Well, the ISO and ANSI have standards of what security or just standardized testing should look like. So one of the things that they require is that your certification expire. So why? Because our field changes so fast that if you got certified on version 1 of Security Plus, by the time you get to version 6 on Security Plus, it's actually quite a bit different. The world has changed, frankly. And so you need to maintain your credentials. One thing I will tell you is if you ever get an industry certification, don't ever, ever, ever let it expire, because you work too hard to get that credential, and all you need to do is maintain from once you get the credential. Some vendors make you take the test. Some vendors, like CompTIA, have continuing education. Well, you can do lots of things for continuing education. You can take a class, like at a college. You can take a boot camp. You can watch webinars in some cases. So there's lots of different ways to maintain your credentialing. So here's my other security related certs. So this is by EC Council, Certified Ethical Hacker. This is by the ISC squared. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's basically equivalent to Security Plus, maybe Security Plus on steroids. This exam is cyber ops, is more like working in an operations center doing incident response. And then a really low-hanging fruit that's even easier than Security Plus. And by the way, Security Plus is not easy. But Microsoft MTA Security Fundamentals would be an exam that you could take to like get an internship while you're still in college. Security Plus, as KK said, is your goal. But if you feel that that's too difficult and you want something that's kind of low-hanging fruit, you can go and take this MTA exam. I actually left one off. I also have CYSA Plus, which is Cybersecurity Analyst Plus. CompTIA offers 2 more, which I don't have, which I have taken. I just haven't passed. So I've taken Pen Test Plus twice. I took the beta exam, and I came hair's edge from passing it. And I've also taken CASP, and CASP is really difficult. So what's this last thing here? So it says Microsoft's transcript. So if I click on it, in theory, it's going to open a web browser, and it did. So you can actually go into your CompTIA account once you pass certifications, and you can pull up a transcript. You can share out the transcript. You can put it on your resume. So instead of you saying you have XYZ certification, you just put a link to the transcript and it shows you what you have. So I have all of these through CompTIA, and then they have something called stackable certs. So stackable certs means you got a couple of these, and so they actually give you designations based on that. I do not put any stackable certs on my resume because frankly, I didn't have to do anything to get them. But all of these, however many certs you rack up, they should all be on your resume. Notice that the expiration date is more than 3 years. So certifications are valid for 3 years. But if you take other certification exams, it'll kick the can down the road, and you will be able to have some breathing room, frankly. You know, so I don't really have to look at some of these for 5 years. So I guess my Linux Plus expires the end of 2025. So, and so does Cloud Plus. So let's get rid of this and go back to here. Does anybody have any questions about transcripts or any of my background? So I'm fortunate that I've passed, maybe, don't quote me exactly, someplace around 45 industry certification exams, and I've taken maybe, I don't know, maybe 70. So my batting average is pretty good. You know, it's above 500. So you will fail exams. If you do this long enough, you're going to fail an exam. And you just need to pick yourself up and figure out what's what. There is methodology to passing these. I am going to walk you through some of that on how to actually be successful. So here's the 601 content. So 90 questions. It came out in 2020. I actually took it this summer, I think in August. It has multiple choice and performance-based questions on it. So pretty much all CompTIA exams that I've taken, except Cloud Essentials Plus, have performance-based questions on them. So you need to get used to this testing format. So notice you get 90 questions roughly in 90 minutes. That's one question a minute. These performance-based questions, I'll give an example. So not this edition of Network Plus, which I took last week, maybe. The edition before N10007, I spent 25 minutes on the performance-based questions. Then I had like, I don't know, 87, 89 questions to answer in a little over an hour. So I was clipping through them pretty quickly. You have to know the material well enough on average to answer a question every 45 seconds. So we'll talk about how you actually do that. So passing score 750, it is not linear. The performance-based questions are weighted substantially more than multiple choice questions. Some questions don't count at all. Some questions are doubles. Some questions are worth much, much more, like the performance-based questions. So you can't gauge your score based on some kind of linear pattern. Also, CompTIA keeps their grading system a closely guarded secret, so you don't know exactly how they're weighting things. What I will tell you, if you bomb the performance-based questions, you aren't passing the exam, no matter how well you know the rest of the material. So, and that's just from observation from teaching many, many, many students over the years. So languages, you want to take it in Japanese, Nihongo wakarimasu ka? So you can take the exam in Japanese or English. You can take it from Pearson VUE Testing Center. And it costs $370 retail. Do not pay retail. There's lots of options. If you sit in the class at NOVA and you take ITN 260 and you get an A or B in that class, and you get a recommendation from the instructor that you want to sit for the exam, you can get a free voucher from NOVA. So
1 sec, I want to just hop on and clarify that. So Zach, I need to follow up with Paula on that just to make sure that is still the case, because those vouchers were coming out of Perkins, and Perkins no longer pays for vouchers. So,
okay. Yes,
so
that would be good to follow up. Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's all.
Okay. Oops, hang on. Okay. There we go. Okay. What are the strategies? So, as I mentioned, 45 seconds a question. Pace yourself. Some questions take a long time. Performance-based questions, if you have a bunch of them. So I guess a fundamental question of all the CompTIA exams I've ever taken. What's the ratio performance-based to multiple choice? So I've had a minimum of 2 performance-based questions and a maximum of 7. And if you get 7, you just for that day you were on an unlucky star. You were it's just the luck of the draw. So 7 is going to be very tough to perform regardless who you are, and answer, I don't know, 80 questions in 40 minutes or something is going to be difficult to perform. So, but generally speaking, 2 to 5 is what I've seen most of the time. So fortunately, CompTIA gives you what's on the exam. That's very unusual from vendors, testing vendors for industry certifications in IT. So what do I mean by that? You go to CompTIA's website, you go to certifications, you click on Security Plus, you go to details about the exam, and on the right-hand side, there's a little thing like your name. They want your email address. They want when you're going to take the exam. And then once you click through that, it brings up another little page and you can actually download the objectives. So what are the objectives? It's like 20 pages full of just terms. And basically, what do you need to be able to do? You need to be able to have an elevator conversation, meaning you need to be able to talk about a particular term for about 30 seconds. So CompTIA exams are not deep into technology. They do have a purpose and they're incredibly valuable in the industry, but they don't go way deep into a subject, at least A+, Net+, and Security+. CASP does, but Security Plus does not. Well, I like to describe it as a whole sea full of information, but it's only ankle deep. So if you can do, like if you're in an elevator and the CEO's in the elevator and he asks you what is hashing, you need to be able to give about a 30-second answer. If you can do that and do the rest of what I'm going to tell you in just a second, you can pass Security Plus exam. So practice makes perfect. What do I mean by that? You need to get practice tests. So there are good practice tests and bad practice tests. So there's actually banned stolen intellectual property from all the vendors, no matter who it is, CompTIA included. If you use banned or materials and they catch you, they will decertify you. So how do you stay in the light? You use providers like Professor Messer, Daryl Gibson, that are CompTIA partners. They won't steer you wrong. So you get practice exam questions. Usually you get 4 tests, and the 4 tests have about 100 questions apiece, and you need to be able to score in the 90th percentile on all 4 tests. If you can do that, and there's one more caveat to that. You have to be able to know the concept behind the question, not just memorize answers. So I have a really good memory. I mean, short term's rubbish, but my long-term memory is really, really good. So, but I can't even memorize 400 answers to test questions. Not to mention the practice tests don't directly overlap what you're going to see on the CompTIA exam. They're going to ask you a different set of questions. However, if you know the objectives, you will be able to fish out whatever they throw at you. So, how does Zach personally approach an exam these days? I don't have a lot of time to study. I'm crazy busy. So what I actually do is the day before or a couple of days before I plan to take an exam, I print off the CompTIA objectives for that particular exam, and I look up what I don't know on Google on the objectives. So for example, if an objective lists X and I don't like hashing, for example, and I don't know what it is, I Google it and kind of read about it. So that's kind of how I prepare. Early on, when I was just beginning, when I got my MCSE, I could do one exam about every 3 months. And I spent 3 to 4 nights a week for 3 to 4 hours a night studying to do one exam. And some of the MCSE exams were kind of hard, like NT40 and the Enterprise and IIS were really difficult. Anyway, but that gives you some idea of what you're up against. So, okay, so resources. So I'm partial to Daryl Gibson. Why? He's a CompTIA partner. Let's see. So the first one is his website, Get Certified, Get Ahead. We will go there shortly. Here's CompTIA exam details where you can download the objectives. So that's number 2. Number 3 is off of Daryl Gibson's website. He has a blog and he basically lays out most of the performance-based stuff you would see. So he also has, and no, this is not free. All the stuff right here so far is free. The third one, he actually sells practice tests. So for about $45, you can get a couple of hundred questions with performance-based questions that you can actually work through. He also has apps for both the Android and the iPhone. So like if you ride the bus or you take the train or something, you can sit on the train and do practice test questions, which is, to be honest, is way more productive than playing games. So lastly, yes, I like Professor Messer. So this link is to YouTube for his 601 content. Again, very high quality. So books. I thought I had Daryl Gibson's book hard copy, but I can't find it. I went down to my library to see if it was there, and it wasn't. But the second book here, Exam Cram, I don't have Security Plus, but I have Network Plus for the N10006. So the books look like this. Exam Crams come in 2 flavors. They come in a book that gives you basically the details of what's on the exam. They also have a CD in the back with practice test questions. They also sell a separate book that's nothing but test questions. So, little FYI, you're going to want to do a lot of practice test questions. And also, there are different methodologies to take the exam. So one methodology is just go in and take it and see how you do. Another methodology is to put your heart and soul into studying and go in and pass it the first time. Both have validity. So a story. So I used to be a commodity broker in the early 90s. And I worked for 2 gentlemen that owned the company. And one of the gentlemen would see me at my desk in the afternoons studying for the Series 3 exam. So Series 3 is like Series 7, except for the commodity industry. So it's like a stockbroker's license for commodities like wheat and corn and stuff. So anyway, he said, Zach, why don't you just go in and take it and see what's on it, and then you'll know what to study. And there's validity there. But where's the break-even point? The break-even point is basically how much you currently make. So you can take your hourly rate and then you can compare it to the cost of the certification exam. So hypothetically, if say you make $50 an hour and this costs $400, if you're spending way more than 8 hours studying for it, then you should probably go take it and see what's on it so you know exactly what to study. If, however, you make $10 an hour, then the break-even point is 40 hours, right? So think of it in those terms. And I am cognizant for a college student, $400 is a lot of money. So, and Brittany's going to check in to see if it still exists where NOVA can pay for vouchers. Okay, so now to the nuts and bolts of what we're going to talk about. So performance-based test questions. So from Daryl Gibson's blog, and we're just going to go there now. So he has some that are listed out, and I just put hyperlinks to where they are in his blog. So also something about Daryl Gibson, he makes some really good books for CompTIA exams, and then he sells them on Amazon, and they're only $10 for the Kindle edition. If you want a hardback or a softback like my exam cram, it might be $15 or $20, but they're not crazy expensive. So if we click on WAP, what's WAP? Wireless access point. So if we click on that, okay, so it takes us to his site, and he walks with,
We can't see the site. We still see your slides. So you might have to reshare your screen.
Yes, I am going to have to. Just a second. Oops. Almost clicked leave. That would have been bad. Let's see. Okay. Now here's his book, by the way. So there's the 501. He has a book for the 601. So here's specifically access points. So again, from a CompTIA partner, this is what he says you should know. So changing the SSID, enabling, disabling the broadcast frame, filtering MAC addresses, configuring security, WPA and WPA2, configuring WPA and WPA enterprise. Okay. So then he walks you through it. He has videos. Then he literally has screens. Here's the platform. So this is an actual access point, and he walks you through configuring it. Don't worry. There are simulators on the internet for these access points. So in a couple of slides, you are actually going to configure an access point based on things that I want you to set it to. So we will get there. So, but let's go back. Okay. So then enabling, disabling broadcast. He shows you where to do that. Then he's got 601 practice test questions. And here's the Security Plus full package. These cost money. Then he's got more stuff that's free. He shows you how to set up a MAC filter. Okay. And then he shows you how to configure WPA. Okay. And then finally, pointing an access point at a radius server to do authentication. So he shows you how all of that is configured, where you could log into a simulator or an actual Linksys or Cisco access point and configure it. So let's go back. I think we're on his blog. So you go back to the main site and you go to blog, and he has a section called performance-based test questions, okay? So he has a video that walks you through. This is a question from his actual engine that he sells. So he walks you through a question. Then here are all the different performance-based questions that he's, to be honest, I'm pretty sure CompTIA said you can show these, but not these. So here are all the different things that he walks you through. So social engineering attacks, matching device controls. Here's sample performance-based questions. We're going to go there. There's ACLs and firewalls, forensics, WAP. We're going to do that. And then he's got some general stuff. One of the things that KK mentioned is to actually take the performance-based test questions at the end. What does that mean? It means you in some vendors, which includes CompTIA, you can mark test questions and you can come back to the, you can come back to them later. So what KK is advocating, and I am wholeheartedly for this, is do all the multiple choice and then come back and do the performance-based questions. What that allows you to do is answer all the easy, the low-hanging fruit, and then whatever time left is how much time you have to spend on the performance-based questions. Word of caution, performance-based questions are designed, if you don't know your stuff, to run you out of time. So just so you're forewarned. Okay. So if you, let's click here. So here's some samples. So here's a question. So it says, after a recent attack, the security administrator configured a DMZ and placed appropriate servers within it. After completing their work, one of the users on the second floor said he could no longer get to the website on the internet. The following graphic shows that part of the network, okay? It says, check the IP and connectivity for each of the relevant servers to determine which computer has been impacted by this change. Check the ACL, access control list, and change the rule that's causing the problem. So they want you to do two things. They want you to make sure that the IP for these here, and look, there's a link. Do you see that? You hover over this, there's a link. So let's click on the link. Okay. So it just brings it up here. It's not, but it's not allowing us to configure everything. But in theory, you would check this interface. You would check the PC's interface, meaning are the IP addresses on the same network? You would check this interface, the default gateway for the servers, and then the firewall, you would go into the firewall and you would check the ACLs, the access control list, to see if it's blocking inbound traffic going from the internet through the firewall to the DMZ, okay? You would check that. And if it was improperly configured, you would make a change to make it correct. Does that make sense? And yes, that's a lot to do in 5 to 10 minutes. And if you have 7 of these questions, you're really going to be hopping. So you really, really, really got to know your stuff. Okay, so let's go back here. So here's what you can do. You can ping, right? If ping fails, you know that there's an IP problem, right? From the internal network, okay? So if it succeeds, then you can go look at the ACLs. Okay. So you can return to Homer's computer and you can do an IP config. This address and this address, based on the subnet mask, have to be on the same network. Okay. So then from there, you can go to Bart's computer and do the same thing. This address and this address have to be on the same network. This also, you want to make sure that this address matches this address because they're on the same network. Also, the subnet mask should match here, and the IP addresses should be different. You cannot have two computers with the same IP address on the same subnet because you'll get an error. Then on the router, okay? So you go to the router interface. The router interface is going to give you more details. You got to know what a /27 is, for example, okay? In this example, that's, what is it? 255.255.255.224, which actually matches this, right? You got to know that, okay? So then here's a performance-based test question for subnetting. That won't be on Security Plus, but this one will for ACLs. So they're going to give you some rules, and they're going to say from source to destination, and it accepts any protocol to any port. And then notice you got to deny here on remote access, SSH and remote desktop. You got to know your port numbers for both Net Plus and Security Plus. If you don't know your port numbers, what I like to tell students, if you don't know your port numbers when you get out into the working world, people in the IT department are going to look at you funny. They're going to be, basically, they're going to be like, why are you here? If you don't know your port numbers. And you don't need to know all of them because there's 65,536 ports. You only need to know like 30 to 50 of them. But if you don't know the basics, people are going to be like, what's going on here? You know, they're actually going to go talk to the hiring manager and say, what's going on here? So anyway, so again, HTTP and HTTPS. Network time protocol. Again, you got to know your subnet masks, right? You got to know this is classless interdomain routing notation. You got to know that. You got to know that that is invalid. That is wrong. You can't have a /37 in a class in a IPv4 address. You can have from 1 to 32. So 37 doesn't work. Okay. So that's the issue, right? That is flat wrong. Okay. And you got to be able to recognize that. And how do you do that? Well, so I'm a huge believer that to learn IT, you have to do it through repetition. And to be honest, your first 2 years are going to be the hardest. But if you put a lot of energy into your studies, over time, it will become so much easier. It'll just be like you picked up French or something and you're fluent in French. It'll be you're fluent in IT. So, because to be honest, Security Plus, A Plus, and Net Plus are kind of like a vocabulary race. Like I already said, they're ankle deep, but a whole sea full of information. So it's, can you learn the vocabulary and then can you apply it? So, okay, let's see what else. So subnetting, no. Okay, so that's it on some sample questions. Here are some that are specific to Security Plus. Okay, let's click on this one because that's the one we're interested in. Okay, so here again, What are we going to do? We're going to change the SSID. How do you do that? Right there in that field. Let's click on it. Network name, SSID. Okay. Broadcast, also on this screen. You can enable a broadcast, you can disable a broadcast. I'm not here to tell you what things mean at this point. I'm here to kind of prep you for an exam or kind of steer you in the right direction. You should know, if you've taken a security class, you should know what this does. You should know what, actually, if you've taken ITN 101 or ITN 260, you should know what these two things do. Also, if you've taken the same two classes, particularly ITN 101, Network Plus, you should know what changing the channel does. You should know network mode, A, B, G, N, AC, and not on this thing because this is old, but the current technology could potentially have AD. So, and then MAC filtering. You should know what a MAC address is. If you don't know what a MAC address is, it's not helpful to try and configure a MAC address filter on an access point. So so this is kind of wild. You can enable or disable filtering, and then you can prevent or permit. So if you permit, only addresses in this list are allowed. If you prevent, only addresses in the list are prevented. So this is the equivalent of a whitelist or a blacklist. So based on what the question says, you either prevent specific MAC addresses or you permit specific MAC addresses. If you permit specific MAC addresses, any other address that's not in this list is implicitly denied. So, okay, what's the difference between WPA and WPA2? There's also a WPA3, right? So you got to know what that is too. This device is too old to have WPA3. So you can set the security mode, then you can set a passphrase. So are there different things that you can set from a security mode? Yes, you can do WPA2 personal, which is a passphrase. You can do WPA2 enterprise, which you can point the traffic to a radius server to authenticate users. So, which is the next slide. Okay. Let's scroll down. And here we go. This is enterprise. So notice you set it to enterprise and then you point it at an authentication server. Again, you got to know your ports. If you don't know your ports, the exam is going to eat your lunch. It's just that simple. Okay, so let's see. Let me go to the chat. Okay, you're listing your ports. Rapid quiz, cool. Okay. Okay, so again, Daryl Gibson's site is brilliant. He's taken all the hard work out of it. Also, focus on the CompTIA objectives. To be honest, is Daryl Gibson giving you every little detail? No. If he did, the value of the Security Plus exam, it wouldn't be worth the paper it's printed on. The value of it, the value of any certification exam is, do you know the topic at hand and can you perform and apply your knowledge? And that gives that's why vendors want them, is because it's an independent evaluation of your skill set, and it shows that you have competency in a technology or a skill. And so a couple of things. So it is incredibly hard to cheat on a certification exam, incredibly hard. I've never tried. That's not how I'm built. I will say that for my ISC squared exam, they made me I wear my grandfather's wedding ring. They made me take off my grandfather's wedding ring and put it in a little cup. And I'm like, okay, a 1936 wedding ring is going to be really useful to cheat on the exam. Also, I wear antique wristwatches. I am cognizant that digital watches can store data that could be used to cheat, but they make me take off my 1955 watch, which frankly barely tells time. So just be forewarned. Also, if you cheat and you want on anything in college or anything else, and you want a security clearance and you get to a level where you have to take a polygraph, you're not getting a security clearance, particularly if you lie about the fact that you cheated. So just be forewarned. These tests are only useful if you actually learn the information. So, and then they're crazy useful. Before I go on to flip the classroom and have you do an activity, I want to talk about it this way. So you're in IT. You've been in IT for 5 years. You hate what you do. You just hate it. So what do? Well, here's what you do. You go figure out what you want to do. You study like heck. You pass the industry certification exam for whatever you want to do. You already have general IT experience. So things like troubleshooting and basic networking and subnetting and all that kind of jazz you already have down. For example, you want to be a database administrator, which pays 6 figures, way more than it. So the record that of the people I know someone that makes 260 that's a database administrator. So, and they could pay more than that. That's just my vantage point in my circle of friends. So, so yes, you want to be a database administrator, go study for Oracle, get a cloud cert, because most databases are going to be in the cloud. So get a cloud cert, study Oracle, study MySQL, study Microsoft SQL, pass the exam or exams. In some cases, there's like 3 or 4 exams. And then at that point, you can at least get your foot in the door doing that. So certifications have all kinds of validity and things that you might not have thought of. So, okay, are you ready to do a deep dive and actually do something? Ready? I'm not.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Let's see. Why won't it advance? I gotta be smarter than the PowerPoint. It's not advancing. Give me a minute. Let's try it again. Okay. So I'm gonna copy the link into the chat. I'm gonna leave it on this page. And you're going to go to the simulator on the internet in a web browser. I think I used Edge, but you could use Chrome or Firefox. I would not use Internet Explorer. So what are you going to do? You're going to configure an SSID. You're going to set the channels. You're going to turn off beaconing. If you don't know what beaconing is, you need to figure it out. Okay. So then you're going to enable the security mode. So the simulator I've selected does not have WPA2. It only has WPA. Okay. Then you're going to look at what other security options are available. What else can you configure? Okay. Then again, WPA only has TKIP. So, but my question is, what other options are available? So you're going to have to Google WPA and encryption standards and figure out, are there other things that are available that this little simulator just won't do? Okay. Then you need to set a pre-shared key. That's also called a password. So you don't need the quotes, but certs are awesome. Okay. Once you all get that done, there's another page. Okay. So we're going to prohibit, I think we're going to prohibit. Okay. Yes, we're going to prohibit your computer from connecting to the access point. Don't worry, it's a simulator. So and no one will see your IP unless you need help and share your screen. If you're on a Mac, a Mac OS, meaning an Apple computer, you open the terminal and you type ifconfig. If you're on Linux, you type ifconfig. If you're on Windows, you type ipconfig all. You figure out what the MAC address is. It may not be formatted for what the simulator requires. So you may have to reformat. In other words, copying and pasting may not work. So you got to get it into the correct format that the simulator will accept. Okay, so as a starting point, I'm going to click on this and then I'm going to post it in the chat. Okay, so it should pull up a page. Notice it pulls up a little simulator. Is this the coolest thing you've ever seen? So this is an actual operating system from a Linksys device. And notice it's got networking, and then it's got wireless and security and gaming and administration and status. And obviously we're interested in wireless, right? So I'm going to post this in here into the chat, and then I'm going to put up what you're going to do, and we'll go from there. Okay. But this is how you actually succeed. Practice, practice, practice. Let's see. What kind of analogy do I want to use? So, Jay, are you familiar with the 737 MAX, the airliner by Boeing? Okay. You know, they had 2 fatalities worldwide where the planes crashed and killed everybody on board. Okay. Why didn't that happen in the United States? Why did that not happen in the United States? Any ideas? Throw anything out. No, not because we grounded them. Bingo. Shannon, that's correct. Our pilots in the United States require minimum 1,250 flight hours to be a pilot no matter what you fly. If you're flying a commercial plane, you need at least 1,250 flight hours before you can even be a co-pilot. Does anybody know how much that costs to get 1,250 flight hours? This does have a point to what we're studying. That's not true. Yeah, they were trained on the same system, but okay. So it cost $110K to get 1,250 flight hours. roughly, give or take. He put 87,000. That if you're really good and efficient, you might be able to do it in that. So why do I mention this? Well, because as Shannon said, our pilots are well trained. There's also an apprenticeship system. It's called a co-pilot and a captain. Most captains on commercial airliners were, in the modern world, most of them were military pilots. And so they've got a lot of flight time. Okay. So practice, 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 practice. So why did we not have a fatality? Because our US pilots practice, 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 practice. So what should you do for Security Plus? Practice, 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 practice. So I hope that was an interesting analogy. So back to this. Okay. Has everybody, let me post it in the chat again. Okay. So I posted in the chat, how many of you cannot get the simulator up in a web browser? Okay. Okay. So let's go back to here. Okay. Let me get the chat out of the way. So just walk through the steps at your own pace. And when you're finished, type done in the chat. Yes. So this simulator is actually owned by Cisco, I think. You actually can pull up simulators for almost any version of Linksys. So yes, after class is over, you'll be able to get into the simulator. Again, when you're finished with this screen, there are a number of steps. Please say done. Also, if you don't know what to do, type in the chat, I don't know what to do, and we can let you share your screen and you can show us what you're trying to do and we'll guide you to the right solution. Also, feel free to talk over the mic if you want to. Brittany, do I have the ability to let other students share their screen if they get stumped?
Yes, you just make them a co-host.
Oh, I can't just allow anybody to share their screen?
I don't think you can share your screen if you're not a co-host. Let's see. But if somebody needs to share their screen, I can make them a co-host or you can make them a co-host and then they can share.
Okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. Every time I press save, it goes to not found. So that may be an issue with the simulator. But Jake, if you can at least fill out the fields, they may. So to be honest, Jake, you may not have right access to the simulator. It's used to. I'm using this tool to basically show you where to go to configure things. So okay, so Michael's done. So don't worry about not being able to save it. Also, we have 23 of you in here, maybe a few less because there's some overhead from Brittany and myself and the other two people in the room. So maybe there's 19 of you. I don't know if the simulator can support 19 people. If someone can't get to the simulator at all, I can point you to a different simulator. So. Is this the type of thing you like to do? Is to actually do stuff that will help you towards the certification exam?
You got a thumbs up from Shannon.
Okay. 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 So Daniel has a question. Is the SSID a host name or a domain name? Neither. It's a service set identifier. So an SSID identifies the wireless network. It's like its name, but it is neither a host name nor a domain name. Anybody else done with this page? Yes. So Jake, I say turn off the beacon frame. So you need to be Googling what is a beacon frame. So yes, beaconing is how an SSID broadcasts its name. So if you turn, or the access point broadcasts the SSID, I guess is a way to put it. So if you turn off beaconing, then you're disabling SSID broadcast. Okay. Depends on who you are, Michael. So if you're a very high security environment, you it's a defense in depth measure to turn off broadcast of the SSID. If someone wants to connect to it, they actually got to configure their wireless on the client, like a Windows 10 laptop, to specifically connect to a SSID that's not being broadcast. If it's being broadcast, you just pick it from a list. So are you getting a message saying it's not recommended? Okay. So it depends. That depends on. What I will tell you is turning off beaconing on access point. All it does is keep honest people honest. What do I mean by that? If you're bent on accessing someone's access point, there are tools that'll pick up the access point, whether it's being broadcast or not. So, but to the casual observer, like someone driving by in the car with wireless on, it wouldn't see a non-beaconed access point. But if a hacker, someone that's good, wants into your wireless network, they're going to get into your wireless network. So there are things you can do to lock it down as tight as a wired network, but generally most individuals can't do that at home. So are we still on this page? Do I have permission to go to the next page? Okay. Anybody else? I'm only getting response. Okay. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I can get you a link to the other simulator. Just give me a second. Anybody else? Anybody else want to go to the next page? Okay. let's see. Let me get him another link first. Give me a minute. Okay. So I think. Okay. So they have all these. Okay. So here are access points. So I'm just going to give you the generic link and you can pick. So when you obviously you want to choose one with an antenna. So and I don't know what, obviously these are access points or routers. So anyway, so there's lots of them. Is that kind of wild? So they're all simulators. They're all going to be different. So, okay. Next slide. So now you're going to be opening your computer's command prompt and you're going to be finding out what your MAC address is, and then you're going to be inserting it into the access point. So Brittany, it's about 10 after 11. I'll let them work on this, but I would like to open the floor up to questions about anything they want to talk about.
Sounds good to me. So folks, if you want to type your questions in the chat, if you also want to unmute yourself, you can do that. Just raise your hand so I know who's unmuting. We're not all talking over each other all at once.
So Michael has a question. It says, what brand of hardware appliance is recommended for routers and firewalls? So I have a favorite. Let's see, I got it. I got one here. Where is it? Okay. So I've been certified on this product twice. I've actually gotten job interviews from being certified on this product. I never got a job from being certified. So here's a Sonic Wall. They were owned by Dell. Now I think they're owned by a private equity group. So Sonic Walls are, they start at about $400 and they go up to $50,000 or $60,000. Yes, net gates are good too. So I might have one of those here too. So, how did I go about getting Sonic Wall certified? Well, first thing I did is I went out to eBay about 15 years ago and I bought one. And I tried to figure out how to make it work at home. No, Sonic Wall and NetGate are not the same thing. So then I was teaching adjunct in Kansas, and I found out I could get a grant for $1,500 to do some professional development as an adjunct. And so I talked to my boss and I said, I need to learn something about firewalls because I'm teaching Network Plus and there's a lot of firewall stuff on Network Plus. And I said, will you support me and me go into training? And he said, absolutely. So he had to sign a form. Well, the training is pretty expensive. It's $1,000 a day for 2 days. So the training costs $2,000. So the college wanted me to prove that I had $500 that I could put towards the training when they put up $1,500. So it was a done deal. So then I went to training. As part of training, they give you a Sonic Wall. They also give you a voucher to take the exam. So I went to the training, got a Sonic Wall, set it up at home, got certified. And the culmination of this experience is I actually have set up Sonic Walls for small businesses and configured everything. And I was Sonic Wall certified. So which gives you a higher level of support you can access if you don't know what to do. So to be honest, that thought process is not Zach's original thought. So in my career, I've noticed that people that have test labs at home tend to do better in the workplace, meaning they get promoted, they get accolades, they get more money, you know, they just do better. If you're a techie, you need to have a test lab at home. And what that means is when you're at home watching the football game, you're trying to figure out how to make this or that work and learn the next thing to propel your career forward. And that's frankly what it takes to be successful. And if you do that and get certs, you'll wake up one morning and you'll be crazy successful. So other questions. So there's a question, hang on, let me scroll up just a minute. So are performance-based questions part of the 90 questions? Usually, yeah, so it's a max of 90 questions, and then they give you like, you'll get, notice I said earlier, like 87 questions on an exam. So that means 90 questions for CompTIA, 90 minutes is pretty standard for all their exams, except the beta exams. And so yes, that the 90 questions is usually inclusive of the performance-based questions. Let me scroll up a little more. Okay, it says, I have a 501 Security Plus book. Would it be worth it, or should I to do the 601, or should I look for resources for 601? So the exams change about 20% for every iteration. So the 501 is going to get you 80% there. What you should do, Jake, is you should go download the CompTIA Objectives off of the site, off of CompTIA's website for the 601, and that'll bridge the gap between your 501 knowledge and the 601 exam.